One of the notions that can absolutely revolutionize your life is the realization that we can do hard things. We can make hard choices and decisions, and we can even take the steps to do a hard action. Sometimes prioritizing ourselves means that we have to stand firm and do what is right for us, regardless of everything that is going on around us. Sometimes it means that we have to make a choice for ourselves, our health, our wealth, our accountability, and know that no matter how hard it is, we can rise to the occasion and be successful in it. In today's story, you're going to hear Valerie talk about how she took her power back and really changed her life completely around for the better by doing a hard thing. Now let's get into it. For the longest time, I secretly wanted more. I often found myself shrinking to fit in, settling for what was comfortable, and even selling myself short. Once I finally accepted that we deserve success and we are blessed with the power to achieve it, I stopped playing small. I'm serious about building a life I love, and you should be too. I'm Denise Taylor of DeniseTaylor.live, and welcome to Embrace Your Power. I help women prioritize themselves, their success, and their happiness. Now let's meet this week's achiever, whose story will inspire you to embrace your power and go. Well, hey there, it's Denise Taylor. I'm always excited to have you join me each and every week right here on Embrace Your Power. Now, this is the place where we believe that we can build a life that we love without apology. And I will always encourage you to do just that. We also believe that God has not given us a spirit of fear. He has given us power. And when we embrace our power, we truly can be, do, have, and achieve anything we want. So thank you for connecting with me here. Now, whether you are listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or maybe you're watching me on YouTube, I want you to know that I am grateful to be connected with you. And if you haven't taken time to subscribe on the platforms where you can, or taken time to rate and review, what are you waiting on? I want to make sure that there is nothing standing in between us being connected. So do that now. And your feedback that comes in when you rate and review helps me to know that what's happening here resonates with you. So take time to do that too. Not only that, it says to the algorithms, serve this podcast up to other listeners because there's something good going on here. And I want you to know that I appreciate being connected with you, and I appreciate helping you embrace your power. Now, today's episode is one that fits squarely within one of the success superpowers. Now, let me remind you what those are. The first one is see yourself successful. We have to be able to see it, believe it, and that sets us up to be able to achieve it. Number two is to shake off fear. As soon as we see how big and successful we can be, sometimes fear sets in. We have to make sure we've got the right strategies to shake that fear off, keep that thing big enough for God to get in there so that the success we truly see, we can realize without ratcheting it down. The third is do the work. We have to put our hands to the plow. We have to do the work. We have to make sure that we are putting forth effort to accomplish that which it is that we want to achieve. But the thing we must remember is it comes with the promise. God said he would bless the work of our hands. Number four is take care of you. Now, in this journey, we've got to make sure we're looking out for our best interests, that we're taking care of ourselves. The mantle of greatness is heavy, and you've got to be fit for the journey. So taking care of you is way more than just the appearance. It's making sure that you're good from the inside out. And number five is hold fast to your faith. We've got to make sure that we're tapping into the promises and the power source that God gives us so that we can persevere until the end. Now, today's episode is squarely aligned with take care of you. When we start talking about taking care of who we are, sometimes we may have to make a choice or a decision that reverses something that we've done before. Taking care of ourselves ensures that we are fit for the journey, that we are healthy, that we are strong, that we are able to accomplish that which we have been assigned to do. And when we sense that something is off with us, it is so important that we take the reins and we see it through until we are well and until we are healed. The testimony that Valerie has is one that I wanted to make sure was lifted because it is so powerful and strong, especially in the vein of doing hard things to take care of ourselves. You see, for years, Valerie struggled with all sorts of health-related symptoms. She looked healthy, and on paper she was, yet she routinely experienced migraines, vertigo, inflammation, tendonitis, stomach issues, joint pain, breast pain, insomnia, and more. She felt unhealthy, but no one, including experienced doctors, could pinpoint why she was continually suffering. In February of 2019, she saw a post mentioning a recall on breast implants, and it made her want to know more. She had breast implants for many years and began to wonder if she was experiencing pain as a result of the implants. She was on a research journey and a mission to learn more. And after 8 months, her implants were removed at her request and her desire for relief. She experienced explant surgery. She describes herself as being more reserved, but this story and testimony is one that she is an open book about. It is one that has helped to change her life from years of symptomatic pain that is now tied to the breast implants that she had. You see, making the choice to remove the implants was a hard thing, but she deepened her resolve and was able to get the courage necessary to take the journey and have them removed. And I wanted to bring her testimony to this Embrace Your Power platform because so many of us need to understand our responsibility for our health. It didn't matter that the doctor said she was okay because she knew she wasn't. And she was relentless until she was able to get the answer and solution that was necessary to change her life. So let's take a listen to this powerful testimony that Valerie shares. So I'm so excited to have Valerie here with me because anytime I get a glimpse into someone who is truly embracing their power and making a choice, though difficult, to take care of themselves, I want to amplify that voice and that story. And so when I saw Valerie's post, I saw her authenticity, I saw her transparency, and I knew that there probably were other women who were struggling with similar responses, effects, situations, circumstances that needed to hear your testimony. So Valerie, I want to say to you, welcome to Embrace Your Power. And thank you for being here to share more about your experience. Now, I would love for you to introduce yourself. And before we really get into your explant journey, we'll talk a little bit more about your implant journey, but tell us more about you.
Hi, Denise. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And anytime I can share, this story, I truly embrace that because there are women out there that are experiencing the same thing. So I'm Valerie Sanchez. I live in New Jersey. I'm from Chicago. I grew up in the West Side in Humboldt Park. And I have 3 children. I'm married for many, many years. And I have a financial services firm that my partner and I started called Divine Asset Management. I've been in finance over 30 years. I also have a decor business. So that's something that I do on the side and that I enjoy, which is upcycling unpacking furniture and making things pretty again, right? So someone's trash is my treasure. And and I love to cook and I love to be with my family. And I'm really kind of like a homebody, you know. I don't I've become this introvert after COVID, unfortunately. Just got used to being in my home. So that's really it. You know, I'm excited to be here, and thank you. And I've followed you for a long time, and you definitely inspire me. So I'm excited.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you. And something you said, it just to me cut at the root of what this entire experience is about. And you said, I love making things beautiful again. And I feel like that is almost a testimony of your experience, right? Because you had to take back your power in such a way that you could feel strong, confident, and beautiful again yourself. And so, what you do professionally each and every day with your hands, you did with your heart, and the confidence that it took for you to get your power back. Now, I talked a little bit about your journey, but I'd love for you to share in your own words what that whole implant journey was and explant journey was. So let's start with the implant side.
Sure.
So as much as you're comfortable, tell us about how you ended up making the choices or decisions to even consider implants and what that journey was like for you.
Yes. So I got my implants in 1998. So I had them for 21 years. So I was fairly young when I got my implants. I was 26 years old and I just had my second child. And I wasn't feeling very beautiful. I wasn't feeling very sexy. I felt my body had changed drastically when you have children. And I think that there was a level of insecurity that I had, even though I was already with my husband and he loves me no matter what. And of course, you know, they embrace your new you after you've had children because you know it's part of who you are. You brought life into this world. And I was comfortable with that part, but there was something about me that wasn't okay with how I looked now. And so I decided, well, you know, everybody that I know had done it in my industry, like the girls that I knew, a couple of them had done it. Some of the wives of the guys I worked with had done it. And I thought, why not? I should just check it out. And so I did some research, and everything that I found led me to believe that what I was doing was okay, that what I was putting in my body would be fine because the surgeons knew what they were talking about. I mean, the research said that they were safe. You know, I would be fine. It's an in and out procedure. You'll be back to work, no problem. And I did it. And once I implanted, I felt much, you know, I felt better. I felt pretty. My clothes fit differently. You know, there was this boost of like, I guess, confidence. And that was it, right? So fast forward, you know, I've had them for so long that they kind of just became part of me. I didn't even realize that there was any difference anymore because they were just part of who I was at that point or what my physical was, you know, not that I was, you know, tied to them for feeling better about myself. But at that time, yes. So fast forward, I'm maybe, I don't know, 2016 maybe, because I really cannot pinpoint when I didn't feel well. I just know that I started to feel sick and I could not explain it. And I'd go to the doctor and I'd get a physical and I'd do blood work. And I went every year for my physical and everything was always normal. So I was normal. I was healthy according to the doctor, but I didn't believe it. My body didn't feel healthy. I felt off. I felt like this general unwellness, this general malaise that just doesn't go away. And I couldn't understand why. I just couldn't understand it. And I thought I was going crazy because, you know, you're tired. You have this brain fog. That was the worst thing for me, brain fog that I felt like would never go away. It's just consistent. And it freaked me out because I thought, gosh, you know, they're telling me I'm okay. I don't feel okay. Then what is it? Why am I like this? Starts playing tricks on you. And then I finally came across something that really piqued my interest. And it was an article someone posted. And so that led me to the explant. And, there's a lot in between there that we'll talk about, but that was the decision after all that research and after finding out so many things about all these other women that were experiencing the same things that I was experiencing and that were having the same reactions with their doctors, and their tests were coming back the same. And on the outside, they looked fine, but on the inside, they felt like death. And so then I waited a while on a waiting list because this doctor had gotten so busy. He was a plastic surgeon, and here he was removing implants now. And unfortunately, it's not covered by insurance, so I had to pay out of pocket, and it was a very costly procedure. Thank God that I was able to do it, and I had the means to do so at the time, because I saw a lot of women that were in my same situation and were having to wait to explant because they couldn't afford it. So their health was taking a back seat because of the financial ramifications of it. And so finally explanting was this relief. Like it got to the point where I just couldn't wait to get them out. I was like, I just want these out. I just want them out. I just want them out. It was like this anxiety all the time about getting them out of my chest because the pain was excruciating by that point. I had a lot of scar tissue on the left side that had adhered to my rib cage, and it was just really awful. And so the explant was longer, I believe, than the implant, and it was more expensive than the implant. And then just like that, I mean, it was so crazy. Just like that, the pain, the physical pain that I was experiencing right on site went away because the implants were gone, and so was the scar tissue. And then little by little, I just started to feel better. And, in a couple of days, you could see like the color came back to my face. I had almost this pale gray look to me. I just didn't look okay for a while. And then began the journey of healing, which is a whole different scenario, and being on the other side of that and what that means. And so there's just so much to unpack, because I'm talking, in a few minutes about something that took years for me, and a realization that took years, and my body going through so many changes, and my physical and my emotional, journey that I went on, because it was unbearable sometimes. I was like, what the heck did I do to myself? So that guilt also on top of it. So there's all these layers of stuff that you feel, and you don't realize that you're going to go through all of this. But I'm on the other side of it now, and I'm healthy and I'm happy, and I look different, but I feel like $1 million. So I'm okay with that,
It's interesting that the insecurity, if I could call it that led you to get the implants to begin with, was really empowered more after your explant journey where they were removed, because hearing you talk about how great you feel now, the sense of confidence you feel now, could have been, I don't know for sure, but could have been some of the longing that was in there all the time that might have led to trying to make this physical enhancement to yourself to feel better about yourself. And so when you think about, just to try to unpack a little bit more, when you think about that as the result, and you think about where you started the journey and what you were hoping to gain through the experience, to help boost your confidence about yourself in whatever way, because, physical absolutely plays a huge factor in how we feel about us. But the sense I get from you now is that you feel so much more empowered and more beautiful now than you probably did at that point in time. And so when you consider that, right, when you consider that perspective, and, everybody's situation is different, what would you say to a person who is giving thought or consideration to implants for maybe some of those reasons?
Yeah, I think, it's so different, right? Because for everyone, confidence and being comfortable in your own skin comes at different stages. So at 26, I wasn't as comfortable and confident as I am now going into 50. Right. So with age comes that wisdom and that confidence, and that I don't really care what anybody else thinks, right? Because now you're like, listen, this is me. And if you don't like it, guess what? Right. So I think that what I do say to people is if if women want to do this and that's what they feel will make them, you know, feel better about themselves, I am not against anyone doing anything that gives them that joy or gives them that feeling of confidence that they need. However, make sure that it's for the reasons, the right reasons. Make sure it's for you, for what you want, and not because you are trying to exude something for society or for someone else or for a partner or for anybody for that matter, right? We have to do what makes us happy. And I think that as you get older, you learn that that joy and that confidence and all of that stuff comes from inside, comes from your source, right? So mine is God, and that's what makes me feel good about myself now. The fact that, you know, I can look back on this and say, well, I learned something from this. So I was not who I am now then. And so I think I had to go through all of that in order to get to where I am today, to then appreciate who I am and the confidence that I have today. It's not, you know, it's not something that comes overnight, right? And like you said, the physical does play a part, right? For a long time, I was a very tiny, skinny girl, you know, all through high school. I weighed, you know, like 90, 100 pounds, you know, and then when I got out of high school is when I started to maybe change a little. And then after children is when I really changed more. And so these are all things that stay in the back of your mind. Like I was called flaca when I was a kid. I mean, skinny, you know? So these things that are implanted and these seeds that are put in your head that stick with you. Or the other thing, you know, watching other members of my family struggle with their weight, right? So then you keep that too, and you're like, oh my God, I gotta stay flaca, you know, like I don't want to feel that way, or I don't want this, or I don't want that. And it's all this stuff that, you know, that unfortunately we absorb as we're young. And unless we talk about it with other people, how do we know, right? We have no idea what anybody else is thinking or doing, because we kind of just go on these paths without ever voicing some of these things that that are ruminating in our brain, right?
Yeah. You know, the other thing that I found very amazing about your journey is how you took the reins, right? Because many people experience discomfort, pain, they experience these symptoms and they go on for a long time. And some of us just settle that this is just my lot to bear or my cross to bear,
Right.
as opposed to really continuing to press in deeper and say something is not right here.
Yeah.
For you to be able to continue your journey and research in the face of the doctors telling you, Valerie, you're checking out fine, your blood work's good, your vitals are good, we're not seeing anything wrong, but continue to press in until you could make a discovery about something that was connected to the surgery, the implant surgery that you had done takes resilience, because some people would just give up, especially at the doctor's advice that everything is okay.
Yeah.
When you were on that journey, it was clear that you knew you could feel better. It was clear that you knew that something was wrong. Tell us about that quest, because it has to be disheartening. And, you know, you're right. What we're talking about here in minutes was years for you. Right. It was a very long time. And the other thing is these symptoms didn't come on right away. They were something that happened after a long period of time of having the implants. And so for you to get to the point where you're like, I can make a connection that this may be it. Tell us about that journey that you went to.
Yes. So again, like I said, I can't pinpoint the exact time that something was wrong, but I just knew that I didn't feel well. And it's crazy that just the way things work out, right? You feel this way and you're starting to lose hope. And like you said, there's this resilience that you have to keep. because if you don't, you'll just never find an answer, and you'll just get comfortable in whatever your normal is. And so my cousin's wife had posted something about some breast implants and a recall. And I knew that mine were not made of silicone. Mine were saline implants. However, the case that the actual housing of the implant is still a plastic, piece of some contraption, and all of the toxins in there are equally, as bad for you. Not everyone, I will put a disclaimer, not everyone that gets implants will get sick. That's not what I'm saying at all, but there are a lot of women that do get sick. And so when I started reading that article, it was like a light bulb moment. It was so crazy. I just thought, this is it. This is what's wrong with me. And I just went on a quest. I just kept reading, and I went down this rabbit hole, if you will. Like, it was like more information and more information. And when you start looking for things, you will find them. So I came across this group on Facebook, and it was called Healing Breast Implant Illness Healing by Nicole. And when I looked at that group, there were almost 100,000 women in that group. And just so you know, today there are over 168,000 members in that group. And so it's crazy, because you're talking, I started this journey in 2019 of finding out about, the explant, or just really finding out about breast implant illness that led to the explant. And it's 2022. I mean, you're talking, it's not that long of a time for there to be another 50,000 members, 60,000 members. You're talking 168,000 women that are feeling the same thing I'm feeling. Like, that's not a coincidence, right? Mm-hmm. We're not all crazy. So I'm like, wow, this is just incredible to me. I just was fascinated by the fact that we all felt the same type of stuff. So I started looking at the symptoms, and I found a list of breast implant illness symptoms. And on that list, I think there were 40 some odd items, maybe 42. And of the 42, I had 34. And I thought, this just can't be. Like, this is really insane. And some of them, I felt them to one degree. Some of them, I felt them a lot worse. So like the brain fog, like I said, brain fog was continuous all the time. I just felt like I couldn't think straight. Like, I didn't have the focus I needed. I was forgetting things. I'm in finance. I deal with numbers. I deal with people's money. Like, I have to be on top of my game, right? I mean, when we're at work, we all have to be on top of our game. And so it was like brain fog to memory loss, to ringing in the ears, to chronic fatigue, to inflammation, like all these things that you just can't explain. And then I started seeing what they were doing about it. And that's when I started realizing all these women were doing an explant. So that's what you call, the opposite of when you get your implants. And I didn't even know there was a word for that. I didn't know that even existed. Mm-hmm. And so you just don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. Found a doctor in the group. There were many doctors that were referred by the group because they had used them. And they had they had a great experience with them. Their bedside manner was great, because the reality is that not all surgeons believe in breast implant illness, right? Or they will say, that's not a thing. They will outwardly just tell you flat out, no, that's not real. Don't believe the hype. But why? Because it's a moneymaker, right? If that surgeon is doing implants, well, then why would he want to tell you that that's bad for you? And up until October of last year, there was nothing out there that even supported what we were saying. So it's changed now, because the FDA has taken several actions now, and there are things on websites and now, including the boxed warnings that they had to put on implants, So now women can make an informed decision to understand that they're not lifetime devices, and that you can get these, illnesses from this. And so that was a big feat for the women that had been experiencing this all along, because it was no longer, oh, you're, nah, that's not a thing. That's not what it is. Or it's all in your head, or, take some aspirin, or, and you'll be fine. Well, here you go. We were right, And so now I'm thankful for that, because now women can make informed decisions based on what the information is today, as opposed to the information that I had all those years ago.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because it seems like, to your point, it kind of works against you to talk about some of these potential side effects up front. But I'm glad to hear that strides are being made to give that cautionary narrative to people who are considering this. And that growth of people in the community is alarming, because it is only a subset of people who are probably there, who may be suffering from this and uncertain about where to go or what they're dealing with. And so it just shows that there is that potential effect. Just so that I'm clear, though, wasn't it like maybe 15 to 20 years? Like, how many years before 2016 had you had the implants?
So I got them in 98. So I mean, we're talking, by the time I took them out, it was 21 years that I had them. But the thing was that when I first got them, they didn't, what the doctor had said was, unless they're giving you trouble, you don't have to get rid of them. Then as time progressed, some doctors were saying, oh, after 10 years, you need new ones. But at the same token, are you believing them? And is it because you need new ones, or because they want another paycheck? So you just don't know. Mm-hmm. But now it's, they are not lifetime devices. You must get them removed, because what happens is the minute you put anything foreign into your body wants to reject it. So the way it does that is by creating a capsule. So the implant then gets this capsule around it, and it encapsulates itself to protect the rest of the body from the foreign object. Well, in that capsule is where a lot of the bacteria can form. And that's what was happening for me. So when I got the implants back, because they give them to you when you get them removed, the valves, where they're fill valves, so in case they start to deflate, they can actually fill them up through those valves. The two valves had like dirt particles in them, in both of the valves. So not only were the valves dirty, which I don't even know how that could possibly happen, because of course they go into you, they're clean, right? That accumulated throughout all those years. And then the bacteria in one of them, I mean, it was like, how did that get in there? If nothing else touched this, it went straight into my body, right from coming out of a clean, I would imagine a packaging. Then how does this happen? How did this actually, get this way? And was that contributing to my being sick, right? There's all these questions, and you just don't know. And the doctor said, yes, that could have contributed as well, but your body was just done with these implants. I mean, it was pretty bad.
So when we come back, we'll talk about the emotional journey that you went through, because while it was physical, it definitely had to have taken emotional toll. So we'll learn more in just a bit. If you're anything like me, you have said wow to Valerie's story. Hearing how she has embraced her power to overcome the challenges that she faced with her health makes me know how important it is to continue to lift voices. You see, the journey to embracing your power is one where you begin to realize that what you have been through has not just been for you, but there could be someone who is waiting to hear your story, waiting to hear your testimony, waiting to hear your voice. It is one of the reasons why I am so resolved to help people get out of the starting blocks and effectively get going with what God has called them to do. When we can shift our focus to those who are waiting to hear us, we can move past, start, and truly get to the point where we're ready to go. It is actually one of the reasons why I wrote the book, Embrace Your Power and Go. I wrote it because there are so many answers that are locked up in the heart, mind, and spirit of people who just need a nudge to get going. The Embrace Your Power and Go book is one that can help you truly get out of the starting blocks and start beginning your journey to being the change that you want to see, or even might have hoped was there when you needed it. I believe that this 30-day journey will help you truly embrace your power and go. I love Valerie's testimony because her testimony shares how someone stood up and shared their experience and shared their resources on a social media platform that helped lead to the healing that was necessary for her life. Embrace Your Power and Go is a 30-day journey that helps you get past the mindset block that has you thinking that you can't do it to embracing that you can. The book is designed to be a daily read for 30 days. It's also designed to have affirmations and designed to have goal setting. And it even takes you on a developmental journey of the success superpowers that I've talked about before. And so if you know that you really have been called to accomplish and do something great, yet you find yourself being held back for whatever reasons, the book, Embrace Your Power and Go, is going to help you get out of the starting blocks and moving forward in your purpose. I'm so excited to be back with Valerie. We've been talking a lot about her journey to really, I can't summarize it any different than embracing her power, especially as it came to her health, both physical and mental. And where I want to go next is recovery, especially with everything you invested in the process, right? From thinking you were crazy to realizing you weren't, to having to undergo surgery again, and to the point where you're feeling so much better now and even reassured in your decision, right? Because throughout all of this, right, it's a hunch, it's a guess, it's a inner witness, like this has to be it. Tell us about your emotional journey and what that healing process has been for you.
Yes, the beginning was tough. I'm not going to lie, right? So when you come out of surgery, you look so different and you feel awful. Like, I mean, it's just such a tough surgery to endure, believe it or not. And, you know, I got out of there, I had drains and my husband had to take care of me and help me to the restroom and, you know, wash me up. I mean, everything. So, you know, it's almost like not only are you physically wounded, but you're emotionally wounded, your ego is bruised, like all of it. So, but I knew that on the other side of this, once even that part was over, after the first week and after the first month, that I was going to feel better. And I knew that, and I held on to that. And it took a little while. It took some days, you know. The first time I looked in the mirror, I cried because I looked so different just because of the surgery, right? So I have all these scars, I have these, you know, these drains, I have so much going on, and I'm in a lot of pain. So it's expected. But then, you know, I would take pictures because the doctor would say, take pictures. And the girls in the group would say, take pictures so you realize how far you've come. And that was something that helped me because I'd look back and I'd say, wow, look where I was and look at how I am now and look at how I feel. And that was all the difference. I felt so good. I felt light, figuratively and literally. I felt lighter. And the brain fog almost immediately went away. That was the craziest part. I thought, that just can't be. They kept saying the heal is real. Everybody would say it, the heal is real. And I'm thinking, okay, you know, yeah. But it wasn't just a catchy phrase. It was true. Like I literally felt better. And once you physically start feeling better, you start to feel better emotionally. And I would just buy new clothes and have to I had to get rid of all my undergarments, right? I never even thought about that piece until after the fact. I had to buy all new stuff. And when I'd wear my new stuff and I looked different, but I was like, oh, I'm digging this. Okay, I like the way this looks. This feels good. And oddly enough, I felt younger. I don't know why. I felt like, oh, like I'd taken like 10 years off of myself, you know. I felt like I looked younger too, you know, just the smaller physique too, you know. I just thought, all right, you know, this is it. This is what it is. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. And I would pray. I would just pray and say, thank you, God, for, physically fixing me. Can you now help me on this journey emotionally that I'm on, because I felt like all the scars I have on my body are all within the same area. So you have the breast explant scars where I never had breast implant scars. Yeah, I have my C-section scars. I
Mhm.
have a scar from where I'd had to get a hernia. So everything is pretty, centralized. And I look at myself and think, gosh, like these are all battle wounds. Like, and then I thought about it and I'm like, yeah, they are battle wounds. But guess what? You got to the other side of every single one of those things. So, you know, that's okay. You're
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's an awesome way to look at it, is the overcoming experience that you had with each and every one of them. And that allows them to change from scars to beauty marks, because you won
Mm.
each of those battles that you went through. And it's so funny because we can look at ourselves and be so very critical. We can be
Oh,
critical
gosh.
of everything it took to bring beautiful life in the world, our children. I look and I'm like, oh, I got all these stretch marks,
Oh,
or,
same.
all of those different things.
Yeah.
We can be so critical, but one of the things I want to admonish everyone to do, and it's something that it sounds like you've taken the journey on too, is how can we be kind to ourselves,
Yeah.
right? How can we say loving things to ourselves? Because sometimes we can be our own worst critic. We can be the loudest voice that speaks against who we are, what we're capable of, and just everything that we have been blessed to be able to experience and have. And so I love that you embraced your new me. I love that you were able to experience the realness of your healing. And I love that you stand tall as a testimony to people who are experiencing this, right? Because
Yeah.
it's a very private thing that you went through. It's private when you made the decision or choice to get them. It's private, the everything that you experienced. But I love the fact that you're raising your voice, and through this
Yeah.
vehicle and other ways that you share, you are helping someone feel better about themselves and
Mm.
understand what they may be going through that they just can't get clarity on. So thank you for your
Yes.
testimony. Is there
Thank you.
anything else that you want to share as it relates to BII, as it relates to your story, before we close out with my infamous life, love, and happiness questions?
I think that the last thing I'll say is that trust your body. Just trust your body, because your body's trying to tell you something when it hurts, when you're seeing all these weird symptoms that you didn't have before. And like you said, what happens is we kind of just get complacent and we just deal with it and say, okay, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be feeling. But pain is not normal. It's your body's way of telling you something is wrong. And if you have an intuition of something, if you feel something is wrong, then you're probably right. You're probably right. And so don't don't underestimate the power of your intuition. And and if you have gone through something, and if you are going through something, and if you've experienced something where you're sick, or you're just on the other side of that, I failed to mention before, which I did. What I did was I thanked my body. I thanked her for getting me through it all, because she has gotten me through some tough times, and boy, is she resilient. So, you know I think that we have to give ourselves more credit, because like you said, we are critical of ourselves, but what a beautiful thing that our bodies can endure so much, and yet here we are, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think that's really important to remind ourselves.
Yeah. Valerie, thank you so much for sharing. So, around these parts, I love to tap into wisdom. And I think we can learn from so many experiences that we have. And so, thank you for sharing your story around your journey to healing, especially glad to see that you're doing well and that this choice was a right one for you. But let's tap into some of your wisdom. So,
Sure.
what's your life wisdom? What would you tell your younger self about life if you could?
that life will throw a lot at you. And just remember that you are stronger than you think. You are stronger than you think. When I look back, I think that I have made it through 100% of the battles I've been through. So tap into your source, tap into your God, your universe, whatever it is you tap into, and just know that if you have faith in yourself and in your higher power, you can pretty much get through it.
That's excellent advice, because we truly are stronger than we think we are. So tell us about your love wisdom. What would you tell your younger self about love if you could?
You're going to find the most amazing man and he's going to love you. No, I think that love shouldn't be hard. Love shouldn't be hard. If it's hard, then maybe it isn't for you.
That is good, because it shouldn't be. It should be with
It's
grace.
challenging. It's challenging. Don't get me wrong. And it's got its ups and downs, but it's not hard.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Excellent wisdom. Excellent. And then finally, your happiness wisdom. What would you tell your younger self about happiness if you could?
I think that when we're young, we think that happiness is about happenings, right? So that if the next happening is what's going to make us happy, the next thing, if I get this, if I get that, if I do this, if I succeed. And that's, for me at least, has not been true. I think that happiness comes from inside. Happiness is a state of being. Happiness comes from the joy that we can find in all of the things going on around us, no matter what. And that's hard. That's easier said than done. I'm going through a very tough time in my life right now, and it's hard to find happiness when you're going through tough times. But if you can always just go inward and think of things that you can be grateful for, you will, find joy in those times of trouble. But don't chase things thinking that you're going to be happy, because ultimately that doesn't work. Those things can go away.
Mm-hmm. It is a choice.
Yeah.
So you've shared so many nuggets today. And if listeners wanted to get in connected with you or connected with the community, what's the best way for them to plug in?
Sure. So I have, if they wanted to connect with me with my decorating, right, because I have a business there, and that's on Instagram, and it's DIY underscore Vi, so BY underscore Vi, and then I also am in finance. So I have a personal page, but I just post really my family on there on Instagram. So I don't really have it public. But that's Mrs. VSAN. So personally, if they wanted to connect with me. And I'm on Facebook too as Valerie Sanchez. I also have my company page, which is Divine Asset Management. We didn't talk anything about that, but that's my day business, my daytime job. But my side gig is a lot more fun, I think. Nobody wants to talk about money, unfortunately.
Well, you know what? I appreciate you sharing. And tell us the name of the Facebook group again, just in case.
So the Facebook group, if anyone is interested in learning more about breast implant illness or the healing behind it, really, it's called Breast Implant Illness Healing by Nicole. And if anyone ever has any questions about this journey, or they think that they may be suffering from breast implant illness, please reach out to me. Send me a message, a DM. I am more than happy to talk to anyone, because honestly, that's why I'm vocal about this, because I learned from other women who had been transparent. And since going public with my story, I've helped 4 other women go through their journey. And I know for a fact 3 women who have explanted, because I've given them confirmation of what they were going through.
Oh, wow. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Valerie, for your testimony and for standing tall with your voice. And I just want to say success looks so good on you. And I appreciate you so very much.
Oh, I appreciate you too, Denise. Thank you so much for having me on and for lifting all the voices that you do. You are wonderful, and we are so grateful.
Thank you. Well, that's it, beautiful. Thank you for tuning in. Don't ever forget that you are truly blessed with life, love, and all the happiness your heart can hold. Be relentless in building a life you love without apology. I'm Denise Taylor, and you can always find me in our free Facebook community. It's Embrace Your Power. Easy to find. Now be sure to rate and review this podcast and share it with a friend. And make sure you subscribe so that we can stay connected each week. And remember, God has not given us a spirit of fear. He gave us power. So be sure to always embrace your power and go.